Let us help you reach your peak in retirement. It's time for Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into the podcast this week on Retirement Elevated. Thank you so much for your time. As always, we appreciate it as Sean and I talk about investing, finance, and retirement. And this week, Life is a Ball Game. We're going to talk a little bit about the podcast that Sean did with catcher John Buck, as well as a PDF download about Life as a Ball Game that kind of came from that conversation. We'll make that available to you at the website. All you got to do is check it out at retirementelevatedpodcast.com. That is retirementelevatedpodcast.com. So very cool that you had John on the podcast not too long ago, back in the summertime.
Yeah, John's a good friend of mine out here. We've got both sets of kids are the same age. So my daughter is the same age as his twin boys, and then my son is the same age as his youngest boy. And so we've gotten a chance to know each other over the last couple of years, and he was gracious enough to do a podcast on his mindset and mentality when it came to catching a baseball game and how you shift throughout the course of the game, that mindset.
Right.
And we created this white paper from it.
Yeah, and again, if you'd like to get a copy of the PDF download, go to retirementelevatedpodcast.com. That's retirementelevatedpodcast.com. We'll make a link there for you to do so with today's episode. Or you can also just give them a call and let them know you'd like it as well. And what we'll do is we're just going to cover a couple of them because obviously 9 innings, right? So 9 phases here. We won't go through all of them. That way you've got something else to look forward to and to read. But we'll go through a couple of these. So I'll kind of start in the middle just to kind of tease it a little bit, Sean, and that way if folks want to check out the beginning or the end, they can get the download there for you. And there's no cost or obligation for the download. So you guys talk about shoring up your retirement income strategy kind of in those middle innings, kind of like a fourth inning, if you will.
Yeah. And I was a pitcher. So in the first couple of innings, my mindset was one way at how I wanted to get through the lineup the first time. Once I got into that, second time through the lineup, innings 4, 5, and 6, my game plan had to change a little bit. And the catcher, when we talked to John, his game plan changed based on what we saw the first couple of innings. But innings 4, 5, and 6, now we're preparing to get to those latter innings and hopefully those big guns to close out the game for the starter, right? If you're a starter and you make it to those middle innings, your game plan's changing.
Right.
And the idea is either can I push through and finish the game and get a complete game, or do I need to pass the ball to, my setup man and my closer, the guys that are going to throw 95 to 98 to sometimes 100 miles an hour. Yeah. And so this is really the phase of life where you want to shore up your retirement strategy.
Is that like a best defense is good offense kind of thing?
Yeah, you're there and you're working to get out of the danger zone, right?
Yeah.
Those 5 years before retirement are really those years that could potentially wreak havoc if you don't have a clearly defined plan. And this is a time where you really want to, if you haven't met with a professional, meet with a financial professional to help you with building a plan that follows your unique concerns and helps you build a plan that gets the most out of your retirement based on what you want to accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have actually a kind of a tie-in podcast as well. So 5 easy ways to ruin your retirement we did a while back, as well as a great kind of companion to this to follow up on it. Not only can you check out the podcast with John himself, but you can also kind of see some of these sister podcasts where we bring these strategies all the way back around. Okay, so inning number 5 is planning for healthcare costs. Certainly very important. Obviously, in the time of COVID, that's become even more important to some people. Others, maybe not so much. And again, it depends on what side of the coin you fall on. But build a plan for those healthcare costs is certainly an important strategy.
Yeah, I mean, you start to look at, call it long-term care costs. And it's crazy. I mean, I'm 40 right now. I feel pretty healthy. I have had, I look at my grandparents, though, and my wife's grandparents, and 3 out of the 4 of my wife's grandparents needed care or long-term care. Mm-hmm. 1 was in care for 4 years. My grandparents, they needed care, but it was like short-term, like 2 weeks here, 3 weeks there. But recent studies have shown that the average 65-year-old today, 47% of men will need some form of long-term care. And because women live longer, it's kind of the survived by my spouse idea that women tend to live longer. 60% of women will need care.
Yeah.
And like I said, that could be all across the board. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy long-term care policies. What I'm saying is take the time to plan for it, because there's a difference between understanding your risks and making a decision, and then just hoping and praying that you don't get it or you don't have to go into care.
Right. Yeah. You're kind of doing that we'll take care of each other kind of mentality, which we hear so often in the financial planning world. It's like, well, my wife and we're going to just take care of one another on our long-term needs. And it's like, yeah, that's noble, but it's often short-sighted, because just the physicality alone of taking someone with a long-term care illness, possibly, it just becomes just mega taxing. Very, very hard to do. So definitely getting some education, getting some help with that can go a long way. And of course, if you'd like to get a copy of this PDF, Life is a Ball Game, just again, reach out to the podcast. Let us know. You can send an email to info@elevatemyretirement.com. That's info@elevatemyretirement.com, or just go to the website either way. And let them know you'd like a copy of it, or call 855-50-RETIRE to check out this free PDF. And don't forget, if you want to hear the podcast with John Buck as well, just go to retirementelevatedpodcast.com, subscribe to the show, and you'll be able to find that on there as well.
We were both quarantined, and so we jumped on a Zoom. And
why not, right? Have a conversation about some stuff. And, it's, again, such a huge passion for you to talk about baseball in general. I think those analogies and those correlations work really well. So let's hit up one more here, and then we'll let the folks download this or get this for the other information. But tax-efficient strategies, I know we kind of talked quite a bit about this on the last podcast just because of the potential presidential change and so on and so forth, but it's not something that you really can just talk about once and just move on from it. You really need to understand about being tax-efficient, not only for your retirement years, but maybe for your legacy planning as well.
Right. I mean, you go back to 2017, tax law was different than it is today. With 3 years. That's the difference, is that when you start to look at tax planning, it's such a moving target. And you come into retirement, you start the baseball game, you have a mentality. I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And it's like a boxing match. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Right.
And then things change. And so when you look at planning, especially from a tax perspective, things change. And so coming into planning and looking at, okay, how am I going to distribute my assets to myself and to my family the most tax efficient way possible? That's a constant evolution of change. You start the sixth inning and you give up a leadoff double. Well, now the way that you pitch changes, and you don't want that runner to score.
Right.
And so when you start to go through tax efficient strategies, how do I pull money out of my IRAs? At what rate? Do I have other accounts that I can pull money on? How do I incorporate Social Security so that's not taxed as high as it potentially could be? So there's a lot of different ways that you can incorporate not just your investment accounts and your investment strategies. You can coordinate those with your Social Security and create some efficiency in your plan. But you also have to have the flexibility to make adjustments if the game changes on you. And things happen. And so that's a constant evolution, is constantly reviewing your tax situation.
So again, folks, if you'd like to check out this PDF, it's really cool. You can also check out the podcast with John himself. Just go to retirementelevatedpodcast.com. We'll make it available for download on the site, retirementelevatedpodcast.com, and you can click on the link for it, download the PDF. That's just a much easier way to do it, so we'll just do that for you. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast while you're there. We make it easy as well to do all of that. You can find it on Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeart, Stitcher, so on and so forth. And you can also go back and check out the actual podcast conversation with John himself. So to learn more about that, just again, reach out, let him know, and have that conversation with Sean and the team. Get your Life as a Ball Game download, and you will be all set. And I think that's going to do it this week for the show here, my friend. So I hope you have a good week, and we'll talk right before Christmas, I believe.
Sounds good, man. Only 70 days till pitchers and catchers report. So
there you go. So if you need your baseball fix, you also know where to turn. Sean is the guy to talk to. So reach out to him at 855-50-RETIRE. Of course, a better use of your time would be to talk about your financial planning, but 855-507-3847 is that number to call. And again, don't forget to reach out to retirementelevatedpodcast.com for your copy of today's PDF download. Sean, my friend, have a great week. I'll talk to you soon. Stay safe and sane, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, man.
Investment advisory services offered through Elevated Capital Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor.